Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's live IELTS preparation class. My name is Adrian, and I am broadcasting to you from beautiful Budapest in Central Europe. Hi, Marwa. Hi, Haung. I see you have a cheer going on there for the Raptors. I'm guessing the Toronto Raptors. That's great. All right, today, students, we are looking at an IELTS Task 1 writing example for the writing section. This is a members class. Of course, if you are a member, you get to chat in this class. Marwa, I believe you requested this class, so that's great. Thank you for that request. It's another one of the benefits of being a member, as well as getting access to our practice exams. Hi, Haung. Hi, Preeti. Again, our strategies for getting those high band scores on the exam come from our websites, aehelp.com for the academic version and gieltshelp.com for the general version of the exam. Hi, Harminder. Good to see you in class. Our websites, when you're searching for them, they look like this. This is our academic website here. This is our general one here. You can click those big red buttons to join. You get access to all of our wonderful materials to help you get those high band scores. All right, students, if you have questions, comments, concerns about the exam or our products, don't be shy. Send me an email. Adrian, Adrian, at aehelp.com. That's my name, at aehelp.com. All right, so today again, this is a Task 1 class, and in 90 minutes, we will have a speaking Part 3 class for everyone, where everybody can join, comment, and contribute. Awesome, let's take a look at the question for this class. Here it is. Hi, Firdavs. Hi, Rahul. So, is it clear? Can you see the picture, members? Maybe I'll make it a tad bit darker. I have a window open. It's a scorching hot day, so to adjust for the lighting. All right, so here we go. You should spend about 20 minutes on this task. Spend 20 minutes on task 1, not a minute more, not a minute less. You should practice your timing at home. The charts below show the percentage of water used for different purposes in 6 areas of the world. Report the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Write at least 150 words. Students, that means that to get the task completion score, you have to have minimum 150 words. It's not exactly, okay? I think a lot of students think they have to write exactly 150 words. No, it's a minimum, okay? It's at least 150 words. Strong essays for task 1 are usually a little bit more. They're closer to 200, 220 words, okay? For a high-level student, band 7, 7.5, that should not be a problem to write 150 to 200 words. Okay, so members, what is our first step here? What should I do? Hi, Bagzad. What do I need to do? What's my step number 1? Okay, maybe I'll make this a little bit darker yet so you can see it clear. There we go. Begzad says we should paraphrase, and Begzad, of course, you mean the question. Harminder agrees, and Marwa agrees, and I love how all 3 of you put the words add details, okay? Rahul says details, yeah. Preeti with details, okay. Yeah, absolutely. We want to paraphrase this question and add some details. To add the details, of course, we need to look at the pie charts here. So let's take a peek at these pie charts. So it says percentage of water used for different purposes in 6 areas of the world. Let me zoom in and move around a little bit here. So here you have North America, South America, Europe. We have Africa, Central Asia, and Southeast Asia. And then here we have these three squares describing the different shading in the pie charts. What are these three squares called? So how do you refer to this in a map or a chart? How do you call this part of the chart or a map where you have the description for the symbols? What do you call that? Okay, it's definitely nominal data, Bagzod, so you're right that this is nominal data, industrial use, agricultural use, domestic use. How do you call this part of the graphic that describes the symbols? What is the word for that in English? It's kind of an interesting word. Once you learn it, you'll never forget it. Anybody? Members? What do you call that? It's not the axis, Bagzod. These are pie charts. We don't have axes in this type of a chart. That's right, Alexander. Very good. Alexander Rizikov says it's the legend. Yeah, this is the legend. Okay, it's called the legend. Just like very famous people in history or mythology, legends, legendary. It's kind of the same word, just a very different use. So this is the legend. The legend shows industrial use, agricultural use, and domestic use. So yeah, that's absolutely right, Alexander. Very good. Good for you. It's called the legend. That's the word I was looking for. Okay, so we have 6 pie charts. We have how many continents? How many continents are represented here? Members, in these 6 pie charts. So again, always push that critical thinking. Always push that analytic thinking. It's not 6, Bagzod, and it's not 4. Marwa, that's right, it's 5 continents. Yeah, Rahul, it's 5, right? So we have North America, that's 1 continent. We have South America, that's another continent. We have Europe, another one. Africa, and Central and Southeast Asia, that's 1 continent for these 2 pie charts here, right? So 5 is the right number there. 5 continents with 6 pie charts. Okay, a little bit of a hint about how to use the information for that paraphrase with the details. So the next step, of course, members, is to paraphrase with the details. So let's paraphrase the question now and add those details, okay? I'm going to do the same. So you have to keep a bit of this in memory for the paraphrase. You know what? Actually, I can make this a little bit easier for us to paraphrase by shifting this below the pie chart. So just give me 1 second here. All right, so I'll put it just underneath so we can shift a little bit easier here. Okay, so there we go. At least we have the legend in there. Hopefully you can see that. Can you see the legend clearly? I think you can from my feedback screen. All right, so write the paraphrase with more details, members. Write the paraphrase with more detail. Okay, I'm going to do the same, and then we will compare the paraphrasing. Okay, here we go. So, all right. So that's my paraphrase of the actual question with some more details. I'll give you a little bit of time before we look at mine and compare it to yours. So again, there is the key information from the chart that you need. Of course, you don't need to look at the percentages yet. You don't need to look at the actual slight details. It's not important. Okay. You just need to look at the main features for that paraphrase in the details. Okay. Bagzod says these pie charts depict the proportion of water application for 3 uses: industrial, agricultural, and domestic, on 5 continents of the globe. Okay, Bagzod, that's good. Just a couple of quick notes, Bagzod. You don't need capital letters on the I and the A and the D for industrial, agriculture, domestic. Those are common nouns. That's just capitalized for the diagram or the chart here. It's not necessary in the writing. And Bagzod, I do recommend using the words for 0 to 10 instead of the numbers. It's okay to use numbers for task 1, but you should get used to using, yeah, I see your correction there, 5. Okay, Bagzod, I'll take that back. I see that you caught that mistake. All right, Harminder says, these 6 pie charts reveal the information of the percentage of water that is used for 3 different purposes on 5 continents. Just a couple of word order mistakes there. Ferdovs says the blueprint below shows the proportion of water used for industrial, agricultural, and domestic goals on 5 continents or in 5 continents. Ferdovs, this is not a blueprint. Blueprint is for diagrams or not even maps, just diagrams for Dovs. Don't use the word blueprint for pie charts, okay? Marwa says these 6 pie charts depict the percentage of water consumption. Nice use of the word consumption, Marwa. In 5 continents: North America, you can say North and South America, comma, Europe, Africa, and Asia. That is purposed for domestic, agricultural, and industrial use. Good, Marwa. Marwa, your English is reaching a really high level, so focus on reducing your wordiness. So take out unnecessary words like the repetition of America, and then you can improve even better to get into that advanced level of writing, okay? Alexander says these 6 pie charts reveal the percentage. Sorry, one more time, Alexander. These 6 pie charts reveal the water usage percentage for diverse purposes such as industrial, agricultural, and domestic on 5 continents. You don't need the word ones, Alexander. And diverse is a little bit awkward in that context, the word diverse. Okay? All right, 2 more. Haung, these 6 pie charts describe the water usage with percentage, including 3 different purposes: industrial, agricultural, and domestic use in 5 continents. Okay, Haung, that's good. You don't need to repeat the word use for each one. Just one time is okay because it can modify each of those words. All right? So again, students, careful with word repetition. Okay, you don't need word repetition. Usually clean, high-quality sentences use one word only once. Okay? All right, moving along. So I have here my sentence. The chart, or sorry, that's the original. Here we go. This is my paraphrase here. These 6 pie charts depict the percentage of water used for industrial, agricultural, and domestic purposes on 5 continents, whereby Asia is further segregated into central and southeast regions. So I simplified a little bit. I didn't list the other 4 continents. I just focused on expressing that I right away recognize that Asia is the one which receives a unique description, being separated into 2 regions. Okay? The other 4 continents are intuitive, and we will see that in the rest of the essay. So it doesn't have to be listed in the beginning. Okay, here's a nice word for graphs and charts, segregated. Segregate is a nice synonym for the word to separate. Okay, so segregate, separate. Learn that one and use it. That's definitely one of those words that helps your lexical resource scores go up. Okay, and of course, like many of you did, we name the type of chart. We name how many there are. So there are 6 and they're pie charts. So right away, we tell the reader that we're clear on what we're looking at. Of course, we identify the legend, okay? Industrial, agricultural, domestic. And for a lot of our viewers out there, just remember that when you paraphrase, you never indicate location of the picture. So even though the question says the chart's below, you should not use the word below in your paraphrase because it's awkward to indicate location on a piece of paper, okay? So no need for that. Are we done? Is this good for the overview? So of course, for all of our viewers out there, we'll give you a little bit more help here. This is the overview for task 1. Task 1 has 3 parts. The overview is the introductory paragraph. It's the first part. Okay, you don't need to write overview in the exam. That's just for your knowledge. Whoop, not a happy face. All right. So that's the beginning of our overview. And we're not done yet, as Bagzod is helping us out here. Bagzod's saying, not yet, arrow. We need some obvious information. Yeah, so again, that's coming from the question, students. So the questions always say, let me see here. Report the main features and make comparisons where relevant. The main feature, the most obvious information, should go into the overview. So we should see that in the overview. So let's take a look at our pie charts. For the most obvious information, you usually do not need to see details like the percentages. You just need to look at what you can get from just staring or glancing right away at this graphic, okay? So what do we notice? What do we notice when we look at this right away? What's the most observable piece of information? Yeah, so Begzod says agricultural purpose. So agriculture are the lined slices. And we can see that the agricultural purpose is the dominant. Okay? So it's definitely the majority of the water used in these regions, okay? Now, Begzod says in 4 of the 6 pie charts, okay? Which is absolutely true. In this case, Begzod, we probably don't even need to break it into the pie charts. We can just look at it, generally speaking, as globally or in these regions, which is the dominant application of water. It's clearly agricultural. And which is the minor, which is at first glance clearly the least used purpose, or which is the least demanded for water in these regions? That would be a good one, I think, to include as well at first glance, because I can definitely see the most and the least right at first glance. Yeah, so Bagzod says that's going to be domestic, right? These black slices. So we can see that in my brain, if I quickly add up all of the lined parts, it's obviously the majority. And if we quickly add up these dark slices, then we clearly see that that's the minority. So that should be the second sentence of the overview. Absolutely. Absolutely. So go ahead, members, construct that second sentence of the overview. Fantastic. Yeah, you are bang on. So that is the most obvious information. Let's write it into the overview before going into deep analyses. So, there we go. There's mine. Okay. And again, so remember what I said just a few moments before, students. Avoid repetition of words. So do your best not to repeat the same words. In this pie chart, the words use, okay, use is going to be needed frequently. So instead of saying use, application, purpose, consumption, some of our members used a variety in the first sentence there, so that was good. So keep doing that, keep paraphrasing. The more you paraphrase those redundant or repetitive words, the higher your band score, the higher your lexical resource score will be. So definitely focus on paraphrasing the words that reoccur in this essay. Absolutely. Okay. And of course, pay attention to the tense here as well, members. So notice that we don't have a year indication. So the question doesn't say in the year 2010, or it doesn't say in the year 1990. So we don't have a year. So this is just a general piece of information. Because the information is general, when we're referring to the information or the pie chart here, it should just be simple present tense and often using the passive voice, right? So pay attention to that, okay? If you use the word used, it should only be if you're using passive voice as the past participle. Hopefully that made sense. All right, Baghdad, first out of the gates, says, immediately it is evident that in 4 out of 6 regions, agricultural use has the highest percentage, while domestic use has the lowest share. Yeah, Baghdad, that works fantastic. That is a band 9 sentence, okay? It's a band 9 second half to your overview. Preeti says, it is clear that most of the water used in these regions is for farming. You need the B word there, Preeti, is for farming. Really nice paraphrasing of agriculture. So instead of agriculture, Preeti used farming, which is perfect. And the least application, the lowest application, is for household purposes. Very good, Preeti. Good job paraphrasing domestic with household. Okay, so some really nice paraphrasing there, Preeti. Those words will absolutely bump up your score. As soon as the examiner, Preeti, reads the word farming instead of agriculture and household instead of domestic, they are giving you band scores. They're increasing your band score. Guarantee it. Okay? Alexander, nice start. Alexander says, evidently. Evidently is a great word. Viewers, I know you're not able to chat here because this is for members. If you want to be a member, click the join button on the channel and then you can join in on this class as well. But definitely take point of the variety of words that the members are using. So notice that our member Baghdad said immediately. Alexander is using evidently. So different ways to begin this second sentence. Alexander says, evidently, agriculture prevails in these 4 regions, while domestic use has the lowest percentage for water demand. Okay, I tweaked that a little bit, Alexander, to make it better. Okay, Harminder says, however, use of water for agricultural purpose has the highest percentage, whereas for domestic use, it is the lowest. Harminder, don't repeat the word percentage. You don't need to, okay, just like I said. Whereas for domestic, it is the lowest. And also, Harminder, don't use the word however, because there's no contrast here. Okay, you have the word whereas coming later. That shows the contrast. Harminder, be very, very careful to not have double opposites. So if you use whereas in the middle of the sentence, that's all you need. You should not have although or however at the beginning, because then that's a double negative, and that's very confusing. Takes your band score down, okay, because it loses coherence. All right. Let's keep going. Marwa says, at first glance, it is clear that the majority of water usage is designated for agricultural purposes, while the domestic consumption is the least in all given continents. Yeah, definitely. Marwa, works well. Nicely constructed. Okay, good job. That's our overview. So here is my second part to this. Immediately, it is recognizable that overall the greatest demand for water is for agricultural applications, as where the lowest need is in the domestic sector. Okay, so very similar to what you have written, just a little bit different. Okay, excellent. What do I do next? So I'm moving along, and again, when you practice this only takes a couple minutes. This should be pretty fast, okay? When you know what you're doing, when you've looked at a few different kinds of charts and graphs, this overview should be quite fast. These task 1 questions, they're not meant to be a university level question, so they're not meant to be difficult to decipher or understand. It's more just using your English to properly describe here. Use the expository essay style. So what do I do next? Bagzad says mark the points. Haung agrees. Haung says analyze it. Marwa agrees. Find the important features. So let's do that together. Okay, let's see how closely we agree with each other. So I'm going to try to get all of these graphs here. Again, even for this, you don't really need to see the percentages too much. Just looking at the slices, we can actually figure out what's going on. Let me bring it up a little bit more like this so we can see the continents, okay? All right, so what should be our first point? What should be our first point? What is key point number 1? What makes sense to be key point number 1? Okay. So again, there's more than one way to skin a cat here. You don't have to have the exact same idea, but we should be somewhat close. So Bagzad says Africa and Central Asia. Okay, with 6 pie charts, careful students, it's easy to get lost in details. Bagzad, I would even start a little bit simpler than making comparisons of Africa and Central Asia. So I would even keep that simpler. Okay. So Marwa says agriculture in 4 continents. So what you're saying, Marwa, is we should probably talk about the agricultural use dominating in Africa, Central and Southeast Asia, as well as South America. Sure. Okay. So I'm betting that a lot of you are identifying these 4 pie charts here as being similar, right? So that's a good kind of start. So you're saying that this, this, and this are somewhat similar, and this and this are somewhat similar. Now, can we break it down a little bit further? Yeah, so we're looking for patterns. That's right. So you're looking for patterns here. Absolutely, you've nailed it on the head, Marwa. You've hit the nail on the head. We're looking for patterns. Now, are these for exactly the same? No, I would say that these three are very similar. But I would say that South America is a little bit different. We see this bigger slice for the domestic use as well. So here we could just disagree with each other. You could do it two different ways. It doesn't matter. So you could do it this way, where you start with these four and then you move to these two and make the comparisons. Or for me, what I would do is I would actually leave out South America, and I would indicate that. I'm using the symbols, by the way, to denote differences. So I would actually describe the similarity between these three first. Then I would describe the similarity between these and the contrasts here. And then I would leave this one to the last and say that South America is somewhere between these two. Okay, so that's how I would go about it. But again, it doesn't have to be that way. You could maybe group this one with these three also. You could still write a very good essay that way. Okay, so here, let's start with point number one, which is Africa, Central Asia, Southeast Asia. Let's write a sentence about those. Okay. So that would be our point number one. Then point number two would be, so 1, 1, 1. This would be point number two. Of course, making a comparison there is also a part of that. So between point one and point two. And then I would go to point three. So that's how I would do it. Now, okay, I have 3 points here, so you're thinking, well, how are you going to write so many words with 3 points? That's because we have to go into details about the usage for these other sectors as well. So let's write point number one together. Does that, before I run away with it, does that make sense? So Rahul, Harminder, Begzod, Firdavs. Does that make sense, my points of comparison here, what I just described? Okay, it was a little bit complex, I realize that, so I want to make sure that I didn't lose anybody there. Begzod says it makes sense. Marina agrees. Firdavs, hi Marina. Firdavs says, yeah, sure, Harminder and Haung can also see it. That's great. Okay, so it makes sense. All right, so then let's start with point number one with Africa, Central and Southeast Asia. I'll zoom in on that a little bit. Okay, there. Hopefully now you can see those percentages clearly. And go ahead and write your sentences that express, first of all, the similarity of agricultural use. And then maybe go into a little bit more with the domestic and industrial use. Okay, you might actually see a difference or two there in the domestic and industrial, but definitely emphasize the agricultural. So go ahead, write that sentence. Okay, I'll keep it up there for just a couple seconds longer, and then I'll get into it myself as well. Okay. Hint, hint. These two slices are quite similar. This one's a little bit different. Okay, Rahul, makes sense. All right. Yeah, never be shy, by the way, students. Even if everybody says yes and you're a bit confused, just let me know. Some of our other viewers might be confused as well. So, okay. So I'm going to write this is 84, 88, 81%. So I'm going to do the same. All right. Begzod, I see you already have yours up, which is great. Okay. So now we're into the analysis, or analyses for plural. Okay. So observing the pies in more detail, it is clear to see that Africa, as well as Central and Southeast Asia, use water mostly for farming at over 80% of the total. In addition, household purposing of water is similar between Africa and Central Asia, but Southeast Asia uses distinctly more aqua for industrial application. At 12%. Notice how I'm trying to stay away from writing a lot of numbers. Okay, so I say over 80% and 12%. It's okay to use the numbers a few times, but you definitely don't want to have your essay full of numbers. Your goal to get those high band scores, of course, as many of our members know, is to interpret the data in human language. You need to translate the data into human language. Okay? So that is my point number one. Let's take a look at what Bagzod wrote. Bagzod says, when looking at the graph in more detail, it becomes clear there are similarities between two continents, Africa and Asia, semicolon. Agriculture takes up over 80%, as where industrial and domestic have close to 10%. Okay, Bagzod, good. You just have that one extra little of in there, of over 80%. You don't need the of. Bagzod, you did use the semicolon correctly. Okay, that is a good use of the semicolon. It's very challenging, so I'm glad that you're learning how to use the semicolon. Using the semicolon correctly shows an advanced level of writing, but I highly recommend not using it until you are advanced in English and in writing. Otherwise, it will take your score down because it can be very confusing when it's incorrectly used. Okay, so careful with it. But Bagzod, I'm definitely proud that you are at that level now where you can experiment with the semicolon. Good for you. Okay, Marwa says, interestingly, Africa and Central and Southeast Asia have similar patterns in which agricultural water usage comprises the highest proportion at about 80%, or at more than 80%. Careful with using both about and more, Marwa. Just one of those two, okay? So highest proportion at more than 80% of the total. Okay? Yeah, Marwa, you can use interestingly. It's a little bit subjective, so you have to be careful with it. I love how you threw that question in at the end. It's a good question, Marwa. You can use the word interestingly, but that's it, okay? Don't use any other subjective or opinionated phrasing, because task one is not your opinion. It's just an expository essay. Okay, but that's a very good question, Marwa. Harminder says, it is crystal clear that use of water for agricultural purpose in Africa, Southeast Asia, and Central Asia is 84, 81, and 88% respectively. Okay, Harminder, that works. It's a decent sentence. Make sure, Harminder, to capitalize names of continents. Okay, those are proper nouns. You do lose marks for that mistake in the exam. So big A, big S, big E, big A, big C, big A. You don't need to repeat the words Asia twice, Harminder. Just Southeast and Central Asia. Okay? They will modify both. So both will modify Asia. All right, Rahul says, at closer look, it is evident that Africa, Central, and Southeast Asia not only use just over 2/3 of water for farming purpose, but also these continents have, okay, and I guess you're continuing from there, Rahul. Okay, that's good. It's actually 4/5, Rahul. So instead of 2/3, 4-fifths. Okay, 4/5. 80% is 4/5 of the water, not 2/3. 2/3 would be 66%. So that's an information mistake, Rahul. And just like I catch these mistakes, students, your examiners, the markers, they also catch these mistakes. They have a very good eye for mistakes, just like me, and they will take marks, okay? Especially in academic IELTS for information mistakes. So be careful, okay? So it's 4/5, Rahul, not 2/3, all right? Ferdov says, notably, the consumption of water on farming in Africa, East and or Southeast and Central Asia is about 80% of the whole, okay? All right. Preeti says, looking deeply into the chart, it is evident that Africa, Central and Southeast Asia are using up to 80% of water, or even more than, not up to, but even more than 80% of water for farming, whereas for industrial uses, it is 12% for Southeast Asia, right? Okay, so careful, Preeti, with information there. You have a few different points where there's information mistakes, okay? Rahul, yes, 4/5. There's an S on the end of that fifth. 4/5 of the water, okay? All right, doing good, students, doing good. Let's get back to it. So that's point 1. So now we want to make the comparison to point 2, okay? So of course we need to use a word like conversely or however to get into point 2. Point 2 is North America and Europe, okay? So here we are looking at North America and Europe. So maybe I'll make it a little bit bigger. Zoom it up like that. Okay, you can see the percentages. Okay, so here you have North America, and you have this big white slice here, which is the domestic purpose. Okay, and Europe here as well, where you have that big white slice. In North America, it's 48%, so almost a half, and in Europe, it's 53%. Where it's just over a half. So in both cases, it's close to half, okay? Close to half. You have to find the right words for that description, okay? All right, so now you should be ready to compose the next part of your analyses. Again, you see agriculture here at 39%, agriculture at 32%, and sorry, this is my bad. That white slice is going to be, I wonder if some of you caught that. It's going to be industrial. Yeah. So industrial, the big white slice, okay? Okay, it's a little bit tricky to move around in the chart here with touchscreen, but that's good. So, okay, so again, my correction there, that's industrial. Okay, always take a second glance. By the way, students, if you did make the mistake of writing domestic, then just all you would need to do is cross out the word domestic in your essay if you catch that later. So cross out domestic and clearly, cleanly above it write industrial. And it's okay to make corrections like that, all right? Okay, so write that sentence, so write those sentences, okay? So I will do the same conversely. If I can spell it. What is the spelling for that word? It's got to be close. Yeah, ELY difference. So, conversely, and you can save yourself time, students, with words like North and South America by just doing N dot, okay? Save your precious time and energy. So learn to shorten words like North. So North America, okay, N dot America. So conversely, the need for water in North America and Europe is mostly for industrial use at around half of the total. Both continents are similar in their agricultural and domestic consumption, with about 1/3 for the former and 15% for the latter. Okay, so that's my sentence to describe this here. So conversely, the need for water in North America and Europe is mostly for industrial use at around half of the total. Both continents are similar in their agricultural and domestic consumption, with about 1/3 for the former. Former means for the agricultural, and 15% for the latter. Latter means for the domestic. Okay? All right. So again, showing you some useful vocabulary for those high band scores. Okay? Now, if I want to be more accurate, instead of 15%, I can even figure out that 15% is about 1/6. So I could say 1/6 for the latter to be more accurate, but I'll leave it at 15%. You won't lose marks for that. You're on your way to a band 9 so far, for sure. Okay. Begzod says, however, in the other two areas, North America and Europe, instead of areas, Begzod, continents is a much better word in this context. Okay. Industrial aqua application dominates at around half of the pie, or half of the total. Instead of saying pie here, pie is a little bit awkward, whereas both agriculture and domestic use have over 32 and 13% respectively. Begzod, yeah, that works, 32 and 13% respectively. Sure, absolutely. Okay. All right, now while I wait for the other members to finish this sentence, I'm actually going to add the last comparison, which is South America, okay? And I'm going to keep this short. South America is the last one. It's the least interesting, or it's not the least interesting, but if I don't have a lot of time left, I don't need to spend a lot of time to describe it. Just kind of mention that water usage is somewhat unique from the other regions, okay? So I'm going to include that while everybody else is finishing up their second point comparison. So South America, on the other hand, is slightly unique when compared to the other 5 regions. About 3/4 of water is used for farming, and nearly 1/5 for domestic. Okay, and I'm not even going to mention the industrial because the reader can actually figure that out, that if it's 3/4 used for farming and nearly a fifth is used for domestic, then the reader, if they really want, they can figure out that it's roughly about a tenth that's used for industrial purpose. Okay, so what can I state here for the summary? Okay, I'm going to include the summary here as well. Now, at this point, if you've written a great essay, you have a great score. If you've used up all your time, then go to task 2. If you're an extremely high-level user of the English, you're looking to teach English or work in a university or a school using English, and you need a band score 8 or an 8.5, it's a good idea to include a summary if you have a couple minutes left before you go to your task 2, and you're looking for the most obvious information that we can learn when observing these 6 pie charts. Okay, so what can we learn from this? Well, we can definitely see that farming demands the greatest water use, followed by industry, and followed by domestic, but that these vary depending on the part of the world where we are situated. So that could be the summary. Okay, so here we go. In summary, it is evident that the primary use of water globally is for farming, followed by industry, and least of all for the household. As well, the demand for water in each of these sectors varies significantly in different regions. Okay, so that would be my summary for this essay. Okay, students, I'm guessing some of you are curious, what is the word count on that? The word count on that is 227 words, and there you have a Band 9 essay. Okay, so 227 words. Band 9. Okay, let's read it together. Hopefully it makes sense. Now, Harminder, Firdavs, Rahul, Marwa, I see that you have your sentences up, which is great. My apologies for not being able to give you detailed feedback on those, but you've done a great job so far, so keep it up, okay? Here we go. So these 6 pie charts depict the percentage of water used for industrial, agricultural, and domestic purposes on 5 continents, whereby Asia is further segregated into Central and Southeast regions. Notice how here it's not capitals because I'm just saying the regions, not the names. Immediately, it is recognizable that overall the greatest demand for water is for agricultural application, whereas the lowest need is in the domestic sector. Observing the pies in more detail, it is clear to see that Africa, as well as Central and Southeast Asia, use water mostly for farming at over 80% of the total. In addition, okay, I've got a little blue highlight there. It's looking for a comma because I'm starting with addition, or in addition. Household purposing of water is similar between Africa and Central Asia, but Southeast Asia uses distinctly more aqua for industrial application at 12%. Conversely, the need for water in North America and Europe is mostly for industrial use at around half of the total. But both continents are similar in their agricultural and domestic consumption, with about 1/3 for the former and 15% for the latter. South America, on the other hand, is slightly unique when compared to the other 5 regions. About 3/4 of water is used for farming and nearly 1/5 for domestic. In summary, it is evident that the primary use of water globally is for farming, followed by industry, and least of all for the household. As well, the demand of water in each of these sectors varies significantly in different continental regions. Welcome, Parminder Honda, as a new member. Thank you for joining. Rafaela, hi, nice to see you. Okay, so does that make sense? Marwa, is this task 1 clear now of how to interpret, analyze, and compose this response? Is that clear now, Marwa? Marwa was the one who requested this task 1. Parminder, welcome. Send me an email. You can request classes now as well, and you can get access to our 6 exams. Perfect, Marwa. I'm glad I was able to help you out with that. You are very, very welcome. Students, in 30 minutes, we have a speaking part 3 class. Everybody is welcome to participate in the chat and join. Hopefully, I will see most of you there. It's more than clear. I'm glad, Marwa, that it's now more than clear. It's crystal clear. All right. Yep, Parminder, I'll wait for your email. So again, you can send emails to adrian@aehelp.com, okay? And of course, students, to get all of our high definition, crystal clear videos, over 100 hours of video lessons, and a fully interactive course for your phone, tablet, PC, visit and join us at aehelp.com for the academic version of the test and gieltshelp.com for the general. Of course, on the general website, we have task 1 letter writing examples. Okay. Next lesson, Bagzod, is speaking part 3 coming up in 30 minutes. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Have a great rest of your day. I hope to see you in half an hour. Bye for now.